Welcome to Oxford News This Week. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Terry Stiles. And in this week's news, are there serious threats from coyotes or not? And wait till you hear this love story.
Stay tuned. Learn more about these stories and others. The Oxford News begins right now. According to the Department of Natural Resources, DNR, there is no proof that coyotes were the cause of an attack that killed a local Oxford rancher's prize horse. The ranch owner, Callie Myers, insists the decision to close the case by the DNR is premature. She contends that not all witnesses were interviewed pertaining to the incident. Neighboring property owners insist they heard a pack of coyotes the day the attack occurred. Nevertheless, DNR officials insist that there is not enough evidence and the case is closed.
Vandalism continues in Oxford as a Beamer Street resident found that his van that had been parked for 2 years in his driveway was smashed in the front and scratches down both sides of the vehicle. The resident told police he had no idea who could have done the damage to his vehicle. The investigation continues.
A local shopper came up empty-handed when he reached for his wallet with no luck. The man retracted his steps multiple times but was unable to locate the billfold which had money and credit cards in it. A report was filed but there are no leads.
A local teen made a 911 call reporting that a man had been shot at a local Lapeer Road home. However, before police could gain additional information, the teen hung up. A phone research led police to the home of an Oxford teen who denied making the call, telling police he was in gym class at the time of the call. School surveillance tapes revealed another teen had made a call from a cell phone that belonged to the teen who was in gym class. While the boy on the tape denied making the call, the boy's father identified his son's voice when police played back the 911 tape. Police left the disciplinary action up to the father, who told officers he would take care of the problem and that it will never happen again.
Crossroads for Youth on East Rainer Road, Oxford, called Oakland County deputies involving a fight involving 2 girl residents. When officers arrived, the girls had been separated by staff and both needed medical treatment for scratches and bruises. The girls were transported in 2 separate locations and both charged with assault and battery.
Police are investigating a report of a robbery from an Oxford man by 2 of his roommates who were moving out of his home. The resident told police the pair broke the lock on his bedroom door and stole several items, including a 40-inch HD TV. Officers were unable to locate the missing women or the stolen goods. The case is still under investigation.
It looks as though the $6 to $7 million Chinese dormitory sponsored by the Wei Ming Chinese Educational Group is going to be located on a 2.71 acre plot of land located on Market Street east of M24. Site plans, although not complete, can be found at the Oxford Township Hall for your review. Timeline for completion is estimated to be 2016.
Oxford resident Lorette Dresbach won the Love Story contest sponsored by Seniors Helping Seniors. She won the distinction after submitting a story of how her 56-year marriage began. What began as a failed initial date. In his plane, Lorette's pilot boyfriend handed her a letter pledging his love forever and asked her to marry him. Lorette said she had a fabulous husband until he died in her arms 57 years later.
Daughter Alexandra Daywood, a 4th grader at Oxford Elementary School, enjoyed dancing with her daddy at the annual Daddy-Daughter Dance held at the Devil's Ridge Golf Club in Oxford. The event was organized by the Oxford Township Parks and Recreation Department and compliments to Ron Davis, director and staff. I think they had a lot of fun.
They did, and that was quite an alliteration, daughter-daddy dance.
I bet I can't do that twice in a row.
Now, there's good things that kids are doing in the community as opposed to, I feel bad for the kid that made the 911 call. I was a little surprised that the police let the dad handle that disciplinary action. That's not a good thing. They could have come up to that house with guns a-blazing, thinking somebody else was there. So that's too
I was
bad
thinking
that
the same
happened.
thing. That's true.
It's
But you have to look at the resources that are tied up, by these false
Yeah,
calls that
right,
come into the police
right.
department. You know, it could hinder, you know, a serious issue, you know,
Yes.
being resolved. So it's,
Yeah.
they said they take it very seriously, but I think the move to have the father handle this, and the father is very adamant the fact he was going to take care of it. I think he
did.
will.
I hope he did. Another danger in the community. I was surprised to see the coyote story come up again.
Yes.
I wasn't surprised the DNR put that case to rest simply because, and I'm going to put in a shameless plug for, we're doing a special for our community access. I spoke with a wildlife rehabilitator that lives in this community. She's also a former Oakland County sheriff. She knows what she's doing, and she said initially she did not think it was coyotes because they just don't behave like that. And she's been studying them here and in Maine for 5 years. So I'm curious to really find out what happened, but if those people think it's coyotes, they maybe need to be a little more on guard.
Well, perhaps the DNR, maybe they have justification for withdrawing from the case at this point. Maybe,
that we don't know about.
Right, that we don't know about.
Right.
But if we find out more information, I'm sure that we'll be able to bring it to our viewers,
we're going to follow this story for sure. And like I said, watch OCTV, and you can watch mine and Bill's show and listen to what this wildlife lady has to say.
Good show.
So that's it for Oxford News this week. If you'd like to learn more about these stories and others, stop by your local store and pick up a copy of the Oxford Leader newspaper, or better yet, you can catch us right here at Oxford Television.
And coming up next on OCTV, tune in for Oxford Local Sports, then catch Oxford School News with John Ochins. After that, join us with Auto Talk and Science in the News with Dave Kinney.
I'm Terry Stiles, and this is Oxford News This Week, where your news is closer to home.
And I'm Elgin Nichols. Remember, always be kind to your friends and neighbors, and thanks for watching.
You're watching OCTV.
I'm John Ochins, and welcome to the Oxford Wildcat School Update. First there were 4, then 2, now 1, and done. We have a new superintendent of schools for the District of Oxford. It happened at the school board meeting last Thursday. Here's the vote.
Secretary Stepek, yes. Shoemaker?
Wholeheartedly, emphatically, yes.
Okay. President Reese?
Yes.
Vice President Mitchell?
Yes.
Trustee Brazington?
Yes.
Trustee Schway?
Yes.
Treasurer D'Alessandro?
Yes.
It was a well-attended meeting with many teachers present. One of them was the head of the Oxford Education Association, Band Director Jim Gibbons.
I think Tim is a strong candidate for superintendent, and in my role I don't speak as having polled the teachers. I speak as the person who sits at the table and negotiates contract, and I sit as the person who has the one-on-one conversations with the superintendent to solve the problems. I can tell you firsthand, probably better than anybody in the room, that relationship is the number one factor in the bond between staff and administration and the school board. It's the number one factor. I think that there's not a person in this room who's familiar with our district that thinks that right now relationship is perfect through all the stakeholders in the district. But I think Tim is uniquely positioned to understand where those breakdowns have happened and what needs to be done to heal it.
The days before the vote were jammed with final interviews of the remaining 2 candidates. They were, of course, thrown, and Lance Cruz, Deputy Superintendent of Instruction, Edward Okonevsky. Okonevsky talked of some of his background.
Been in education quite a long time. I started out as a teacher in Bloomfield Hills, taught for 14 years. Taught at the high school level, taught math. One of the times when I tell people I taught math, the conversation kind of ends there. And also back in 1986-87 when I started, I also taught some programming on Apple IIs a long time ago. I was a varsity basketball coach, varsity girls coach for golf, and a varsity boys coach for golf also. Mathematics department chair. I moved into administration and was at the middle school level was there for 3 years. Went to the high school for 7 years. Bless you. I went to the high school as an associate principal for a couple of years, and then I moved from Bloomfield Hills to Lampier High School in Madison Heights, where I was the principal for 7 years. And now I am the deputy superintendent for curriculum and instruction in L'Anse Creuse.
Tim Throne has been with the district since 2000. He was asked about his greatest accomplishment.
When I started in 2000, there was no trust with the tech department. Things were blowing up left and right. There was not trust with the teachers. There wasn't trust with the bond people that we had at the time. There wasn't trust with the consultants. And were our teachers very skeptic of technology in general? It was. It took years to regain that trust of our employees, but I think we did. And so I don't think if we ever would have regained that trust back in that early to mid 2000s, I don't think we would have ever had a foundation to do some of the things that we've done since then.
So there we have it, a unanimous vote for Tim Throne, our current deputy superintendent, as superintendent, replacing retiring superintendent Dr. Bill Skilling as of September 1st of this year. His contract runs until June 30th of 2018. That's the Oxford School Update for this week. Dave Kenny is up next with Science in the News, then Wildcat Sports. This is Oxford Community Television, keeping it local.
Welcome to Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny, and these stories are taken from the publication New Scientist. In our first story, dieting or hitting the treadmill, no fun? You might be able to enjoy one of the health benefits without the hassle. Exercising hard or not eating for a while can alter the immune system's behavior, suppressing some types of inflammatory response. That in turn seems to protect against Alzheimer's disease, diabetes, and autoimmune conditions. But what triggers the change in the immune response has not been clear. When starved of glucose, its usual energy source, the body can make an alternative in the shape of chemicals called ketones. To find out if one of these suppresses inflammation, Vishwa Dixit from the Yale School of Medicine doused human immune cells with various ketones. When he upped the dose of a ketone called BHB to the level you'd expect after 2 days of fasting, the inflammatory response fell away. Other ketones produced during the fasting had no effect, suggesting that BHB is responsible for lowering inflammation. What's more, BHB seemed to have a very specific effect, only dampening certain undesirable inflammatory reactions, leaving other useful ones alone. Next, Dixit tested the chemical on mice, injecting BHB into mice genetically engineered to have an autoimmune disease, reduced their symptoms compared with control animals. Dixit says the work brings us closer to the day when we can get some of the benefits of diet and exercise without all the hard work. The group is now studying the mechanism in more detail to see how it can help people with diseases as diverse as type 1 diabetes, heart disease, and multiple sclerosis. The goal is to get other scientists interested so they can study BHB in specific diseases. So get busy. And in space, we may be on for an actual space race. Two competitors for the Google Lunar X Prize say they will buddy up to get their rovers to the moon by the end of next year. The challenge offers a $20 million grand prize to any team that successfully lands on the moon, travels 500 meters, and sends images back to Earth. Astrobiotic, a space logistics firm in Pittsburgh, announced plans in December to launch the competition's first mission from Cape Canaveral in time for the deadline at the end of 2016, sending its rover Andy up aboard a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket. Now, Astrobiotic has agreed to let Japanese space company Hakuto piggyback its rovers Moonraker and Tetris on the launch. Both companies have previously netted milestone prizes from the Lunar X Prize team. slow progress has seen the official competition deadline pushed back several times. But if the 3 rovers successfully land together, it might mean an exciting sprint to the finish on lunar soil, what Astrobiotics CEO John Thornton describes as NASCAR on the moon. Still, landing on the moon is far from the only challenge still to overcome, says Andrew Barton, Director of Technical Operations for the prize. The recent mechanical failure of the Chinese Chang'e 3 mission certainly showed that moving 500 meters across the lunar surface is a very difficult task and one that will require a great deal of technical expertise. So once teams do launch down on the moon or touch down on the moon, it should be an exciting race to claim the grand prize. I wonder if they have checkered flags. In our next story, their massive globular eyes should have been a clue. It turns out that dragonflies have souped-up color vision that's better than anything ever seen in the animal world. We humans have what's called trichromatic vision, which means we see colors as a combination of red, blue, and green. This is thanks to 3 different types of light-sensitive proteins in our eyes called opsins. We are not alone. Di, tri, and tetrachromatic vision is de rigueur in the animal world, from mammals to birds and insects. Enter the dragonfly. A study of 12 dragonfly species have found that each one has no fewer than 11 and sometimes a whopping 30 different visual opsins. Ryo Fudahashi of the National Institute of Advanced Industrial Science and Technology in Tsukuba, Japan, also found that dragonflies use different opsins at different ages. For instance, the larvae of some species that hatch in sand tend to lack blue opsins. This is probably because blue light does not reach them easily, he says. Do all those extra opsins mean dragonflies see the rainbow differently than us? Well, probably. Other studies have shown that dragonflies can see ultraviolet on top of blue, green, and red, and it's thought that they can also see polarized light coming off reflective surfaces like water. It's likely they have better discrimination than humans, says Fudahashi. Well, we lost another one. Well, that's it for this edition of Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny. Stay tuned to Oxford Community Television, and we'll be right back.
Welcome back to Oxford News this week. Time for Oxford Sports. Oh, yes, and it's been a great week for sports. The Lady Wildcats clinched the OAA White Division title on court after a huge victory over Troy. That score there, 51-32. That took place on February 19th. With it being the last home game of the season, Oxford also chose to honor its senior players. Of his 5 senior Coach Emmert feels they have done a tremendous job of leading this team with integrity, pride, and noting it will be extremely hard to replace their leadership skills. Also, we want to mention once again Jessica Murphy. She had 1,000 points. What a career record. Congratulations, ladies, on making the Wildcat proud. It was a big week for the Wildcat Grapplers after winning team regionals on February 11th and sending 7 wrestlers through the state round after their individual regionals on February 14th. They beat the Sterling Heights Stevenson team 62-10 in the semifinals before beating a very worthy Rochester Adams opponent 40-24. In their 7th district title in the last 8 years, Coach McDevitt also said he noted this year's been a very different year because it's a rebuilding year, graduating a lot of seniors last year and not getting wrestlers where they were to expect to return. Having made it out of the regionals and getting ready to head to Battle Creek with their 17-7 record, the coach said all they had their eye was on the prize. According to Coach, it would be done with his, couldn't have been done without a support staff, his many assistant coaches who helped out. Brandon Rank, Alan Wilfong had done an exceptional job this past year coaching the team, and they deserve all the credit of the success of the wrestling team and their endeavors. Oxford High School varsity bowlers ended their regular season on a high note as well, winning the OAA team championship on Sunday afternoon. That took place on February 15th on match play. Earlier in the week, the OAA Red Division titles were on the line on Thursday, and the Wildcats took down the Dragons of Lake Orion as they clashed at Collier Lanes. In both the boys and girls matches, the winners would be crowned conference champions. This was the high school's athletes. It's what it's all about, according to Coach Laffner. He said there were some early on mistakes, but they were able to fight their way through it. He also congratulates, hats off to the Lake Orion team as they are tough. I am proud of how Oxford team bowled and competed. We've got a better all-around year, ourselves the chance to put a few pins down again. congratulating the Oxford bowling team. Coach Laffner should be noted, he also is a Lake Orion graduate and coaches here at Oxford, so a little bit mixed bag for him, but we congratulate his team and all the bowlers out there. Oxford High School in baseball, well, that'll be happening very soon. They're trying, as a new coach and players are ready to take on the season, there are 3 fundraising events. In fact, one has already taken place, and we want to make sure we pass a winning salute out to Red Naps for their kindness. The American Grill had a dining carry-out dollars event that actually took place on March 2nd. There are still 2 chances for you to help out the baseball team. Don't miss the St. Patrick's Euchre Tourney with the support of the Smokehouse donating the lower level and appetizers to the team on March 14th. You can register at 6:30 if you think you've got game and just want to depend on the luck of the Irish to win. There's a pot of money at the end of it. Entry is $25 for the Euchre tournament. On March 22nd, the team will put to work pounding the pavement, asking for cans and bottles. So if you have any cans and bottles in the garage, feel free to donate it to the baseball team. The funds will be used for many needed upgrades to the equipment, according to Mike Neff. If you want to contact Mike Neff, 248-505-8017. Any questions? Thanks again to the Oxford Leader for their support in getting this published. Once again, ready for baseball and hearing the bats crack on behalf of Oxford. Hey, you can catch all the sports right here on the weekends, 1 to 6 on Saturday and Sunday. We urge you to dial it up. We have many sporting contests going on throughout the week. If you don't catch them on our broadcast, log on our website, occtv.org. Hit the Programs tab or PEG Central, and you'll catch any one of our programs, including all the sporting events. That wraps it in sports. Once again, a winning salute out to the Lady Wildcats and their basketball season. Take care of yourselves. We'll see you next week.
Welcome to another segment of the news we call your weekly calendar of events, where we feature your calendar of local Oxford and Addison community events, including charity, special fundraisers, and general community information. Now, if your organization would like help to get your message out to the public, contact us for detailed information at our studio phone number at 248-628-9658, or you can go to our website at occtv.org. Craft Exchange Saturday, March 7th, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Oxford Public Library. Exchange your craft supplies and craft books with others. Drop off gently used items at the adult service desk by March 4th. For each item dropped off, you will get tickets based on the item's condition. On the day of exchange, use your tickets to shop. For more information, call 248-628-3034. Now on March 13th and 14th, Christ the King Church, 1550 West Drainer Road, Oxford, is offering a marriage seminar. Cost is $50 per couple. The seminar will feature nationally known author and relationship expert Ted Cunningham, based on his latest book, Fun Loving You. For more information, call 248-628-0038. March 21st, 9 a.m., 3 p.m., would you like to participate in a huge indoor garage sale? Training and Treatment Innovations Incorporated, TTI, in Oxford is providing the floor space and event advertising. The sale will be held at the former Goodwill store located at 1500 South Lapeer Road in the Oxford Mills Plaza. Your only expense is the rental of a seller's table and chair for only $20. All profits are yours to keep. For more information, call 248-969-9932. Now, we at Oxford Community TV would like our television viewing public to learn more about your club or organization's special upcoming event or charity. So if you would like to get your special event mentioned on our television show, call us at 248-628-9658 or go to our website at occtv.org. Now, just one final reminder. If you can locate our OCTV program schedule by going to our website, occtv.org, and clicking on Schedule. There you will find a list of OCTV programs, dates and times, and one program I recommend is Bill Service, who always has interesting local stories and interviews on his community access program. Just check it out. This is Oxford Community Television, OCTV. I'm your host, Elgin Nichols. We invite you to join us again for the next segment of your weekly calendar of events.
Welcome to this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny, and these stories are taken from the publication Automotive News. In our first story, British sports car manufacturer McLaren Automotive plans to introduce the 675 LT at this week's Geneva Auto Show. The sleek coupe can top 125 miles per hour in a faster amount of time than many normal cars can get to 60 miles per hour. McLaren will offer the 675 LT in the United States at its 14 dealers in late July with a price higher than $300,000, said McLaren spokesman J.P. Canton. Powered by a 3.8-liter twin-turbo V8 rated at 666 horsepower and a 7-speed transmission, the 675 LT will have a top speed of 205 miles per hour. It'll reach 62 miles per hour in just 2.9 seconds. It can reach 124 miles per hour in just 7.9 seconds. The lightning-fast acceleration times come from the powerful engine combined with lightweight components. McLaren engineers shaved 220 pounds off the vehicle compared with the current 650S Sports Coupe. McLaren says the 675 LT only weighs 2,711 pounds. The 675 LT, a 2016 model, has been designated for use on the track or on the street. McLaren says it comes from the factory street legal. It's the third car in the McLaren lineup. Canton would not say how many 675 LTs will be made, but they will see extremely limited production. McLaren sells about 500 cars per year in the U.S. Dealers, Canton said, have already ordered the entire allotment scheduled to be built for the U.S., so line up if you got the cash. In our next story, Buick climbed into the top 10 while Acura, Infiniti, and Mercedes-Benz fell hard on the latest report card on reliability and performance from Consumer Reports. Lexus finished number 1 for the third straight year ahead of rising Mazda, and Fiat Chrysler's Fiat brand came in last just below the corporate sibling Jeep. Buick's rise to number 7 from 12th in 2014 made it the top domestic brand for the second year in a row. In addition, the Buick Regal bested the BMW 328i to earn top pick honors among sports sedans, a very un-Buick category, said Jake Fisher, Consumer Reports Director of Automotive and Testing. Buick has a reputation for large, cushy cars, and they've really reinvented themselves pretty quickly, he says. They're making reliable vehicles, and they're making cars that score very well, Fisher said in an interview. In many ways, they're like the new Lexus, but also sporty to drive. Still, Asian brands accounted for 6 of the top 10 spots, grabbing 7 last year. Mazda jumped 4 places and finishing second with an overall index score of 75, 3 behind Lexus. Toyota took 3rd place with Audi and Subaru rounding out the top 5. Porsche, Buick, Honda, Kia, and BMW completed the top 10. In addition to Buick, Kia and Porsche were also new in that group this year. This is the 3rd edition that Consumer Reports annual brands report cards. To calculate scores, the magazine said it looks at the road test scores of each model it tested and for which its subscribers have provided reliability data in its annual auto reliability survey. Brands must have test and reliability data for at least 2 models. Good for Buick. And at the EPA has issued updated procedures for a critical part of fuel economy testing that some automakers have struggled with in the last 2 years. The update covers how automakers should calculate road load values in coast-down tests, which measure the rolling resistance and aerodynamic drag of vehicles as they glide from 70 miles per hour to a stop on a straight, flat track. Those values are used to program dynamometers the automakers use to calculate fuel economy ratings using the EPA's test cycle. The update clarifies how automakers should prep vehicles for coast-down testing and updates the test to monitor road load levels over a broader range of speed during the test. Chris Grundler, Director of the EPA's Office of Transportation Air Quality, says the changes will help ensure the accuracy of fuel economy labels and clarify how the EPA expects the test to be done. The update comes after Ford, Mercedes-Benz, and Hyundai Kia have had to correct fuel economy labels on several models over the last 2 years due to errors made on the coast-down test. The errors prompted a beefed-up audit initiative by the agency to ensure the accuracy of miles per gallon labels. In November, Hyundai and Kia agreed to settle a 2-year EPA investigation and paid $350 million fine after fuel economy labels on several Hyundai and Kia models were found to be exaggerated in 2012 due to inaccurate road load values derived from the coast-down tests. Well, that's all for this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny, and as always, may the wind be at your back as you cruise down life's highways. Stay tuned to Oxford Community Television, and we'll be right back.